I'll kind of, without further ado, kind of ask my panelist to start off. Where do we start? We start with Rahul.
Sure, sir. Okay, good. So, thank you, and really honored to be here with esteemed panelists, and I think post-lunch session as well. For me, I'm driving, being with SAP for pretty long time, driving the AI topics for last about 8 to 9 years at SAP Labs India. Currently, responsible for the global AI innovations, engineering topics, especially on the Joule. So, seen the industry pretty closely, especially on the AI evolution in the enterprise world. So, I'm hoping to share some of the thoughts with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Neelkanth.
Hi, thanks a lot. Once again, thank you and good afternoon. Thank you, Entrepreneur, for having us all here, and very glad to be part of this esteemed panel. So my name is Neelkanth. Neel, I globally head the cloud AI and edge computing business for Tata Communications. It's a pretty large business for us. We work with top 500 large enterprises in the country for their cloud needs. And we will talk about it through this session. And very happy to also announce that we just went live with our AI cloud with a massive GPU cluster taking care of the training and fine-tuning and inferencing needs for our enterprise and other GPU users, which includes academia, entrepreneurs like yourself, startups, and of course the government. So we went live with that on Jan 15th and we'll talk about it.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Ajit. I work as a CTPO at Licious. Licious, you may all know, we are India's largest D2C meat player. In fact, we sell the best meat in the country, period. That's what we do. We are a tech-driven brand, you might not know, but we'll speak through a lot of that hopefully in this session. Before that, I spent several years at many other startups in the roles of CTO. So yeah, that's me.
Namaste everyone. Last but not the least, I'm Yatin Dharamshi. I come from Nokia, part of the cloud and network services business. So all the applications, all the business that happens, the entire connectivity layer really comes from companies like Nokia. And as part of that, I'm in the CTO function, responsible for dabbling around with emerging technologies. So incubating new technologies and really spinning that off into business lines subsequently. Some click, some don't, but that's really the mandate.
Thank you. So maybe I'll start with Neelkanth. Now, see, you talked about Edge, right, and the whole new platform on AI that you're launching. Now, what are the key trends that you're seeing now? There's been a whole question around performance, cost, right, and kind of looking at when you're looking at this new stack, especially with the whole communication stack, right? So, what are you looking at? What are those key trends? How are you optimizing for cost and performance? Because that's been a major challenge that what entrepreneurs are looking at, right?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Samir, for that question. So I'm looking at enterprise as a segment for answering this question. So when we talk to enterprises, I think one of the most important things which is coming or bubbling to the surface is in this fast changing world where we're entering what we call as an intelligence era with Gen AI. How do they look back at the entire cloud architecture to support this new brave Gen AI world, especially, and we were earlier as panel discussing about data and how do you manage data, because data is so critical and it's at the core of running your AI. And then if you want to be an AI first company, you have to fix your data. Data is like a fuel for the rocket being the AI. So some of the challenges which they talk about is how do they optimize their costs as they have moved into a multi-cloud journey, and how do they get their architecture right, and how do they get the a very a performant infrastructure, performant platforms, cloud platforms at optimized pricing. Given that over the last 6-7 years of their cloud journey, they've seen their budgets getting busted year after year. I'll just take one example. So we were talking to one largest infrastructure, real estate infrastructure company based out of Gurgaon. You know who that is. And he was saying we are growing at about 10 to 12% per annum for the last 3-4 years, and in terms of sales, real estate sales. And but their cloud cost is increasing by about 40%. And the CFO is asking, this is not, there's something wrong in this math here. So I think that's the number one concern. How do they optimize the cost? How do they apply the FinOps principle? And very importantly, many of the customers also have on-prem deployments, and they have some applications and workloads in the cloud. And how do they find the right fit, right way certain kinds of workloads based on the characteristics should be deployed? Basically, stable workloads, predictable workloads which are not spiky in nature. Can we put it in a hybrid cloud environment and then move all the spiky workloads to the cloud in an elastic fashion? And then on top of it, apply the data management and the Gen AI layer, given that many of the enterprises are actively doing POCs and pilots on Gen AI. So the Gen AI infrastructure also should be available seamlessly for them, which includes the underlying infrastructure and the tools which are required to build the use cases and the agents. Now the latest all of us are aware is building agents and having agentic workflow to solve many of your challenges and problems. So those are some of the things which we are hearing from our customers. And what at Tata Communications we have done is we've put something of a unified, purpose-built, price-performant cloud platform for them. So we've built this stack so that our customers can choose to put the workloads where they want to. So if they want to put it in a multi-tenanted Tata Communications cloud, they can put those workloads there based on, as I said earlier, the characteristics of those workloads. Then they can put those workloads where data is very critical. It might be carrying, those applications might be using a lot of PII data, or it could have plant-sensitive data. So for data residency purposes, you can put it in a managed hosted environment in a our third-party data center on-prem, then anything in between. And then finally, very importantly, from an edge point of view, there are use cases which are low latency use cases. So the workloads or the applications could be AI ML driven. You might want to take actionable, as in you want to take action in real time in sub-milliseconds. And therefore, the ability to deploy these AI ML led applications or use cases and then deploy them at scale at the edge of your networks in your manufacturing plants or environments which are spread out like retail stores, etc. for retail companies. How do they do it centrally without compromising on security and have a very tight control on what's happening at the edge of the network? So the cloud to edge continuum is something which we are espousing as Tata Communications. So we support our enterprise customers with what we call as Cloud Light. It's an integrated edge computing stack. It's a software platform, runs on any off-the-shelf hardware. It's not an appliance. So we're very proud of Cloud Light. So this is in cloud to edge continuum, and we've, as I mentioned earlier in my opening introduction, that we've also introduced GPUs and high-speed object storage for Gen AI, building your Gen AI use cases and deploying your models and running them at scale.
Thank you, Neelakantan. I think a very elaborate answer on the infra. Just switching tracks and moving to enterprise tech, right? And my next question would be to Rahul. Now, Rahul, say you have seen, SAP has done fantastically well in product businesses and also in services businesses. You have led at least some of the key disruption in enterprise tech. Now you're seeing a new wave of disruption coming through Joule and agentic AI and all of that. You're kind of building through, right? What are those pieces of the puzzle that you're seeing or key trends that you're seeing evolve from the SAP stack? Because that's very important in a sense to design or the new age enterprise stack. And how do you think that will pan out over the year or two? Because that's a very critical piece of the puzzle.
Yep, I mean, thanks for the question. It's a very important question at this point of time, as well as we are going through the large transformation at the AI journey, right? I mean, no one thought about agent would become so prominent 6 months back. We're just living the age of the Gen AI and digesting the technology, and at the same time, we get to the leveraging the agent because the way AI is transforming at much faster, unprecedented way, I would say, than any of technology ever moved at the faster pace. At SAP, we definitely deal with the huge amount of enterprise data because most of the customers are Fortune 500 customer. You name any big customer, even the mid-scale to the large-scale customer, we do work with them. The important part before we lead journey to the AI, Gen AI, unification or harmonization of the data, which comes in picture. Because if you have a good harmonized data that talks across your enterprises, would really able to provide you good insight. Because your customers are always looking for how the AI I can utilize to generate my, let's say, financial forecasting, my planning, my supply chain resilience across end-to-end applications, and no one would have only one siloed application working within the industries, right? So we announced in February 13, Business Data Cloud. Business Data Cloud is the SAP's new offering where we harmonize the data across ERP, CRM, our CX cloud, as well as the HR systems together. So it's a one data cloud where you would have real-time data augmented at the real-time level. The important part is data, but then how do you access the data, right? And we have definitely now traditional way of doing it where you look at make this data marts, make the models top of it, then I could do the analytics part of it and create a lot of stories or use access. But I'm sure no one want to do that. Everyone want to do ChatGPT way, right? Because you like to have to ask the interact with system, the very natural language you ask to the nowadays to Gen AI models. But the moment you try to access the data that you have underneath via putting any LLM on top of it, most of the time it will hallucinate. I mean, our studies said that the 80% time, the GPT will not able to provide you the right access to data because he doesn't know your business metadata. The ChatGPT doesn't know, he just knows something on the what's available on internet, but he doesn't know the entity relation that you have, the business objects that you created across your data products. I mean, we follow something as a business partner, which entity goes to different applications called something different. And that's where we have built something called knowledge graph. So knowledge graph being the technology which exists for a long time, but use that in the context of AI in order to train your data and build the foundation model in the context of your business. We build the knowledge graph on top of the what we call data product in business data cloud, and then there would be all access via the agentic capability that we provide. We call Joule as the SAP Copilot, which is the UI for AI in the for your business applications. The Joule would work as a super agent on top of it, which would work in correlation with your finance agent, your analytics agent, would have your HR agent. So the way you interact with the conversational aspects of your application, you could living into the asking the questions to the Joule, and you would interact within the different agents internally and respond to you on the real time, and that's all possible with the reasoning capability that we see coming up with the newer technologies that have been interfaced there. So there's a lot of transformation from a product perspective, I would say. So first priority is to unifying data and making the Joule available across your applications. So Joule is already live with the most of SAP applications, and the data story would come up in the another quarter time. So that's I think innovation that drive the agentic aspects and the bringing data together as well.
So we spoke infra, we spoke enterprise tech. Now let's see how that enterprise tech is getting used, right? So Ajit, you've seen Licious disrupt the space in a sense that brought meat into a very different kind of a format altogether, right? And it's been a very, should I say, digital first business from day one. How do you take some of these technologies, which we spoke about, whether this is the infra, it's the CX part of it, it's the AI part of it, and then bring that to life in Licious, because that's a key enabler for your competitive advantage, right?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So to understand what technology we put to use, it's important for us to understand the complexity of the business itself. So business, I mean, from the outset looks pretty simple. We sell meat. Yeah, it's just about it, right? But it turns out that selling meat, and that too fresh meat in India, is an incredibly hard business to do. And let me illustrate why that is the case, right? It is a traditionally hyperlocal business with absolutely no quality standards or no regulation. You don't know where your meat is coming from. You don't know how long it's been in storage. You have none of that. When you consume meat, this is the state of the Indian meat consumer today, right? And it turns out that this is a 40 billion market in that form, right? And Licious was the first to actually put some structure to this chaos and madness. We brought meat in that new format that you said, which is packaged meat, but sold only fresh. And what it means is that we sell this at 0 to 4 degrees. So there comes the first problem. Our entire supply chain needs to be cold, all the way from post-farming, all the way to your consumer doorstep. It has to be a cold chain. And cold chain in India is not a solved problem yet. Frozen chain, yes, but cold chain, no. Second, supply itself is incredibly hard to predict. There are ban seasons of fishes on course. You don't know who gets what kind of catch every day. So there is highly unpredictable supply that you get. And a certain supply of a certain quality is necessary for us to make sure that that end product quality is maintained. All of you know that rampant usage of steroids and antibiotics is common in chicken. It's all over the place. And for us, it's essential that none of this is used. So which means that we have to do farming as well. So we are a farming company as well, right? So we do farming and we do manufacturing, which is from farming, you get it into manufacturing units, we make packages, and then we do mid-mile, so we are a logistics company, and then we do e-commerce or quick commerce from 100 dark stores that are sitting in 20 cities, right? So 5 processing centers, 100 dark stores, and all of this is tied together in a cold chain. And here comes the other complexity of Indian consumers. Every festival that you see and every alignment of the star, there is somebody who believes that you should not be eating meat, and therefore it is incredibly hard to predict demand. I don't know how much depth of what inventory must I keep across my 300 SKUs in which of my dark stores to make sure I have no wastage. Because this is a perishable product. I have 3-day shelf life at 0 to 4. 1 day is lost in manufacturing and shipping, which means exactly 2 days to sell the product in. So 300 cross 100, that's my permutations and combinations I need to know to actually have wastage that low. So you see, and if I have to manufacture something today in my processing centers, I need to make sure my farmers get the intent 4 days ahead in time. So practically on a day-to-day basis, I'm making predictions of demand across my 300 SKUs, and then placing intents to my farmers and making sure this whole chain runs repeatedly without breakages day in and day out. And that's something that you cannot do with technology at the bottom, right? I mean, that's why I called ourselves a tech-driven company. Actually, we are a data company more than a tech company. So we deploy tech in our farming, nothing so far, but from our production, mostly in inventory planning and placement, because this is the most complicated problem. So I need to predict my demand. So demand forecasting engines feed back into our production facilities. So we raise intents based on that prediction that you made. Then you manufacture. Then you figure out how much to distribute to which dark stores. Within cities, then I do something what we call as inventory rebalancing, just to make sure that there is no wastage within a city. So if I find that a certain SKU is selling faster in a certain hub, then I have a mid-mile run that makes sure that it is moved from somewhere there, the rate of sale is slow, right? So that way I ensure that the whole chain works efficiently. So today we run this entire chain with 2% wastage, which is actually the industry's best. In meat, I don't think anybody has reached this at fresh. In frozen, yes, it's easy to do. But with the 3-day shelf life, this is just, we are the only ones doing it. So that's the first place where we deploy large-scale tech. Of course, we are a D2C brand, so which means our primary mode of selling is through our apps, our website, and our offline stores now. So which means all of the e-commerce platforms that you typically see with any of the quick commerce players, that's what we do. We do quick commerce today, 90 minutes, but we are now piloting with sub 30 minutes in certain cities. If you are consumers of Licious in Bangalore, few months, you will get sub 30-minute deliveries as well. And for that, you need to do network topology changes. It might seem it is simple, but unless I have a certain order density in all of my dark stores, it is not viable for me to run this business. So therefore, I need to figure out what's the right topology of networks. Then I have to do forward and backward placements of inventory to make sure that what you need is always available next to you at the shortest point in time. So we are going to be innovating on that. There is a lot of that change that is going on, last mile delivery tech. And of course, production and dispatch is another big area where a lot of deep work and tech is being deployed as of now, right? So in our CX, we have started to deploy our first agents, AI agents that is able to now fully answer questions, not only about orders, but practically about everything that we do in the business. It's currently on testing. I think it's around 5% rollout as of now. We are backing that with a human-in-the-loop process as well. And very soon, we'll be launching more agents in other workflows. I think we'll talk about later maybe. But this is what it is. So we are, tech company in the business of selling meat and the freshest meat in the country.
Thank you, Ajit. That was a very good, sort of say, ringside view of the whole business. Now, moving to Yatin. So Yatin, I mean, we spoke about Tata Communications, we spoke about SAP, you've seen how Licious is deploying digital. But for digital as an enabler, right, I mean, the whole platform, the infra and the extensions into IoT and cloud and all of that, right, has been the key enabler. I mean, for all these digital use cases to come to life, this is the central piece of the puzzle. Now, and Nokia has been a pioneer in all of that, has done a lot of work on that. How do you think that's panning out? I mean, and what are the key disruptions that you're seeing come through, at least from a Nokia lens, if you wear that?
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the question. And I'll try and probably pick points which were mentioned by the other speakers and really address connecting thread through it. So let me start with what Ajit was mentioning, right? With his challenge, let's assume now he needs to really ensure that whenever he's doing his planning, whenever he's doing his predictions, he has complete access to the underlying network and connectivity that is there across his chain, right? And this is where Nokia has been very active in terms of really trying to now open up the programmable persona of the network for developers so that we can have applications that can really understand what the network, what they need from the underlying network. So that's number one. And in order to really take that forward, the next step is that we are really working towards the application developers just providing their business intent. The translation of that business intent to telco service specific intent and downwards towards resource related aspects of the telco network is left to the telecom domain, and underlying that translation is really handled by AI systems. So, and these AI systems can actually also go back and negotiate to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to meet the kind of quality of service that you require from the network, but this is the best that I can do. Can I move forward? So that is something that is really moving forward in a big way. And this is something which we call autonomous networks with the TM Forum. So it's a topic which really is opening up the networks, be it public networks or for the enterprises as well on the edge. The opening up of the networks and its capability, making it API driven, making it abstract as well so that people can really develop the applications is something that is really moving forward in a big way. Supported by standardization as well that is happening in that space. The second point, Neelkantan, taking your example, one of the key breakthroughs, especially when it comes to workloads. Now, those of us who have been part of the telecom networks, so we have cloud native functions which are really packaged in containers and then moving in onto pods. But what we do is, because this is a requirement that you need to have 5 nines of reliability, you always end up having compute usage at 30%, 40% level. Now, for applications that are really required on the edge that Neelkantan was mentioning, you need, what do you need? You need low latency, you need the highest bandwidth, you need the least cost if you're using a hyperscaler. So it's a multi-objective optimization problem that you're really faced with. And one can actually use reinforcement learning with AI in order to really pack the optimal level of containers on your pod so that you're not really wasting compute capability and you're not paying out of your nose, which is what he mentioned earlier as well, that people get bill shocks from the hyperscalers. So these are topics where technology is now really ripe enough to be utilized in order to ensure that you don't go with a fixed load model when you design your networks. You have a dynamic possibility, and you have the possibility to optimize these multiple objectives that are there. And last but not the least, but coming back to what SAP is doing on their AI stack, similarly on the telco front as well, what we are seeing as a trend is that you cannot have a generic AI stack at the end of the day for which can serve any industry. You need to have vertical stacks which are specific to the industry, and we are developing within my team as well a telco specific stack. It is open source based because we are seeing that commercial models and open source models with the right level of training and right level of GPU capability that you have underlying, they are converging as far as their outputs are concerned. So we are banking on an open source approach, which has been very much validated by DeepSeek as well recently. And we're trying to also, when it comes to AI inferencing, when it comes to fine-tuning pipeline or RAG pipeline and so on, have the right level of openness over there so that you can really tweak to your needs within the industry. So that is important for us as we really look at leveraging AI, not only for our own internal productivity, but also as features in our products that we can really bring about into the connectivity fabric that we offer outside.
Perfect. I think maybe I'll just do a round robin of the question. Maybe I'll start off with you. And this is basically a one question to everybody in the panel. And this is because we're in an entrepreneur forum for a magazine which is Entrepreneur. Now, in that case, how do you work with startups? How does that incubation network work? What is it in for new entrepreneurs? How do they start their journey? Any thoughts or maybe quick points on those?
Sure. So taking a segue from what I mentioned earlier, and since we're talking about entrepreneurs, if I focus on the enterprise business, this is an area where we have and we are starting to open up our MX Industrial Edge network that we are deploying with enterprises. And the main idea over there is we have a full-fledged partnership model with also an API marketplace which is available. So the call is open to really get entrepreneurs and API developers to consume these APIs, create applications, because Nokia is formally, it understands the telecommunication domain. But when it comes to mining, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to verticals, we really rely on partners to develop the necessary applications on the top with all the goodies that we expose. So that's really the approach that we are really working, and it's always an ecosystem play.
Samir, maybe you should repeat the question, please, for me.
Yeah, so, you are in a company which is very entrepreneurial. So how do entrepreneurs start off? What do they do? How do they leverage some of these, digital possibilities, right, in their businesses? Where do they start? There's always been a challenge, right? So what is the path that they should seek?
I think that's sort of a universal thing. You, as an entrepreneur, I've been one myself, chase the problem. If you really see a big consumer problem out there, there will be obviously 100 reasons why you shouldn't do it, but there will be one reason why you should do it, and chase that. I think the first thing is just having a belief that there is a problem that is worth enough to be solved, and then attacking that. I can tell you from my own previous journey that we did a health tech startup and for 5 years did not go the way we expected it, but it was a billion user problem. Primary and secondary healthcare in India is broken, and that was a fact, and we thought we could do something with tech to sort of solve it. 5 years we ran it, went well, but yeah, when funding winter happened, something else.
Do you work with other startups like incubation? And
Yeah, we do. In my personal capacity, I do, of course, help startups think about their business, product, technology, roadmaps, etc. But I think the first and foremost thing is this. Two, I think, look around. I think today's world is changing quite rapidly. I've not seen any other topic stay on the hype cycle this long as AI has stayed on. So it is unique, right? Usually you see that big curve, big hype happening, and then it quickly reaches a plateau and then it plummets and nobody's talking about it. But the strange thing is this wave has still not hit the peak, and nobody knows what that peak is. And I think this opens up a lot of opportunities for people to look for problem spaces and areas that you can solve very differently from what others have done in the past, which means it's reinventing of the same solutions, but fundamentally done differently. Just today I was reading about 10 companies which are 10 people companies running 50 million ARRs already, right? So economies of scale, that efficiencies you gain by what you can get, do from AI is just incredible. So I think it's important to keep your eyes open for that little window of opportunity. Don't hesitate, even if it is a solved problem, because I think there is an opportunity to solve it very differently now. So that's my only piece of advice.
Yeah, maybe from the enterprise aspects, how many of you played with the DeepSeek so far? Very few. Okay. I think that's a way to get started, because I think ChatGPT, how many of you played with? Most of you, right? So DeepSeek has made all of you might know already, right? But the less than the half of money, or I think portion of money where the OpenAI has built their model, and that started with the smallest startup. There's a huge opportunity that I think as an entrepreneur, you would have to little think differently, and I think DeepSeek also shown some of the ways forward that you don't need to be a giant, need huge investment, need huge infrastructure to solve the most complex problem, right? You can also solve it more smarter way in a what we always call, right, with the Jugaad way of dealing with such a big problem. The AI agents, I personally working for last couple of months on them, it's huge opportunity for solving very complex problems. As Licious has solved one of the problem, right, which is fresh meat, and then there are many other problems which you could really go to the level of it with the digitization in India, with the startup ecosystem, with investment coming in. There are a lot of opportunities to do it, but don't overdo it. That's why I look at. In my last couple of years of experience, I also been mentoring many startups. I was seeing rise and downfall of many of them. Just that the cost is important factor, right? You don't need to fine tune every time to the model. You don't need to invest huge on infrastructure to build the model. You can really utilize whatever outsource, whatever the available as open source, and then leverage technology to make it happen, to solve the problem. I think AI agent is a huge opportunities that you could really go big on that. On SAP perspective, we also sponsor the many startups as well. We have SAP.io is the program goes on in partnership with many other startup ecosystems that we have in India. In fact, on Monday we will also have a first round of our seed, what we get sponsorship startup which is building on top of the SAP solutions with the new innovative capabilities, and where we provide them opportunities with the larger customer. So that's some of the aspect that I would like to guide you in the entrepreneur journey.
So Neelkantan, closing thoughts, but maybe touching upon this subject, right? How do you work with startups, incubation, extend the whole ecosystem play and bring that to things that you are already very good at, right?
Sure. So as Tata Communications, we have a very robust innovation program which consists of working with startups and incubating them. And more than often it is provisioning of infrastructure, platforms, extending expertise helping them. And we have spawned a lot of startups which have come within the company and outside and have become part of Tata Communications product portfolio as well. But specifically because I think AI is on everybody's lips. From an AI point of view, our AI cloud has got 3 layers. It's a layered stack. The bottom and the middle layer is the infrastructure and the platform, which I explained earlier. But what the most exciting part is what I didn't touch upon. I think Yatin did talk about the marketplace. So we have a marketplace of AI use cases at the top, which gives us the ability to take the partners' use cases to a larger set of enterprise customers. Finally, the enterprises are the ones who buy and pay for these use cases, right? Whether it's BFSI, retail, or quick commerce, or Licious Foods. So we have a very strong partnership program where we extend our infrastructure, which is GPUs, storage, and the platform, our AI Studio component, which helps build these use cases, whether you are training afresh, as in building a new foundational model, or innovating, or doing a new reasoning agent, building a new reasoning agent. So we will be able to help the entrepreneurs and the startups to access this infrastructure to a certain extent and build those use cases, the foundational models, or fine-tune or continued pre-training, or build on existing open source models and create some new types of use cases, some user agentic workflow, and then you can, obviously we'll be partnering with you, and if it makes sense, and if it is solving a real problem, then we can take it to a marketplace and do a joint GTM with these startups. So I think the whole 9 yards is open, so, and all the sell-through 360-degree relationship is available. So I think that's a very strong partnership, especially on Gen AI. If there are many entrepreneurs and startups who are in the AI world, please let me know. Some of my colleagues are also here, so we would love to have you on top of our AI cloud, accessing our infrastructure and platform and building the next gen use cases in Gen AI.